The 1970s were a golden era for British television. Gritty dramas, thrilling espionage tales, and character-driven storytelling dominated the airwaves. But not every show from that decade has stood the test of time. Some have faded into obscurity, lost gems waiting to be rediscovered. Today, we're diving into 10 forgotten British TV shows from the 1970s that deserve another look. Grab a cuppa, sit back, and let's rewind. First up, a mysterious thriller set against the sun-drenched backdrop of Cyprus. The Aphrodite Inheritance aired on the BBC in 1979 and starred Peter McInerney as David Collier, a man drawn into a labyrinth of intrigue after his brother's suspicious death. He soon encounters enigmatic figures like Helene, Alexandra Bastedo.
Why?
Because I ask you to.
And the charismatic Basileos, Brian Blessed.
You are learning, Englishman, you are learning!
Who may or may not be supernatural beings, and Stephen Griff. With a mix of mythology, espionage, and eerie suspense, this was an unforgettable ride, yet somehow it's been largely forgotten. If you love The Night Manager or The Prisoner, this one's right up your alley. What happens when a murder in England leads to a stash of Al Capone's hidden fortune? That's the premise of the Capone Investment, a gripping 6-part thriller from ITV in 1974. Glyn Owen played the determined detective digging into a case filled with deception, greed, and international intrigue. Think of it as Treasure Hunt meets The Sweeney, only with a Chicago mobster twist. While it was a hit at the time, it's rarely mentioned today, despite its tense storytelling and solid performances, including Peter Sallis. Now, this one was pure prestige television. The Glittering Prizes, 1976, was a 6-part drama written by Frederick Raphael, chronicling the lives of a group of Cambridge students from the 1950s through to the 1970s. Starring Tom Conti as the idealistic Adam Morris.
My family doesn't talk to me anymore.
The series explored ambition, love, and the disillusionment of success, with a stellar supporting cast including Barbara Kellerman and Nigel Havers.
And my eyes are as big as a bank for the success I've lost, California and bust.
Intellectual and emotional powerhouse of the series. If you enjoyed Brideshead Revisited, this is another literary adaptation worth tracking down. Divorce was still a hot-button issue in the early 1970s, and Harriet's Back in Town tackled it head-on. This ITV drama from 1972 starred Pauline Yates as Harriet Preston, a recently divorced woman.
Never mind, Tom. There are more things to life than a military chest.
It was a rare series at the time, putting a strong, independent woman at the centre of the story. Sadly, it didn't get the reruns or recognition of other family dramas, but it was a groundbreaking show in its own right. BBC has produced countless versions of Robin Hood, but one of the most overlooked is The Legend of Robin Hood from 1975. Paul Darrow, who later gained fame in Blake 7, gave a charismatic performance as the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Sir, you surprise me.
While Martin Potter donned the green tights as Robin himself.
Just plain Robin Hood.
It was darker and grittier than many other Robin Hood adaptations, with political intrigue woven into the folklore. But with no major reruns, it's become a lost treasure itself. If period dramas are your thing, you'll love Love for Lydia, 1977. Adapted from H.E. Bates' novel, this ITV series followed a young writer, played by Christopher Blake, and his tumultuous relationship with the enigmatic and privileged Lydia Aspen, Mel Martin.
He doesn't own me. No one does. No.
Think Downton Abbey meets The Go-Between, a beautifully shot, slow-burning drama full of romance, class struggles, and emotional upheaval. Despite strong reviews, it hasn't had the longevity of some other period dramas. Time for a revival? A satirical take on the corporate world, The Organisation was an ITV drama that aired in 1972. It starred Donald Sinden as David Pullman, a pompous office manager struggling to keep his company running amidst bureaucratic chaos.
Richard, may I tell you two things? I always say may I tell you two things, and I can't think of two. I find
With sharp humour and a touch of cynicism, it was essentially The Office. But 30 years earlier, while it had a cult following, it disappeared from view after its initial run. A real shame, because some of its jokes still hold up today. Produced by Jerry Anderson, yes, the Thunderbirds guy, The Protectors was a stylish action-adventure series starring Robert Vaughn, Nairi Dawn Porter, and Tony Anholt as elite crime fighters.
Open sesame.
Yeah.
Running from 1972 to 1974, it followed a trio of international troubleshooters taking on villains across Europe. It had fast cars, exotic locations, and a catchy theme tune by Tony Christie, Avenues and Alleyways. Yet, despite its Bond-esque charm, it often gets overshadowed by other spy shows like The Avengers and The Persuaders. Speaking of spy shows, Spyder's Web, 1972, was a quirky ITV series about a top-secret government agency using a film company as a front.
Is she in on this?
There's just you and me, Hawksworth.
And Jay Smith.
Very observant.
Starring Patricia Cutts as the stylish Charlotte Dean and Anthony Ainley, later the Master in Doctor Who. It had wit, action, and a hint of the bizarre. If you like Mission Impossible with a British twist, this one's worth a look, if you can find it. Finally, we have The Roads to Freedom, 1970, a BBC adaptation of Jean-Paul Sartre's existential novels. This wasn't just television, it was philosophy on screen.
Is that the best you can do? Aren't you going to punish me?
Starring Michael Bryant, Daniel Massey, and Georgia Brown, it explored war, relationships, and personal identity in pre-World War II France. Intense, thoughtful, and challenging, it was way ahead of its time, but because of its complexity, it never got the mainstream appeal of other period dramas. A true lost classic. And there you have it, 10 forgotten British TV shows from the 1970s that deserve a second look. Which ones have you seen? Which would you like to watch? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, don't forget to like, subscribe for more hidden gems from TV history. Until next time, keep watching the classics.